What's happening? Give me a call. Ed Schultz, Facebook Live, 202-909-1492. You're talking to a guy that's never had anybody dragged off his airplane. Actually, we have, because they wanted to go fishing so bad, but we didn't have room for them. Can you believe that? You have to understand that the rest of the world is watching this. That this is happening in America. That the airline sold a ticket to somebody and then decided they wanted to put their employees on it, so a computer algorithm, and they select 4 people, and one of them happens to be a minority doctor who doesn't speak very good English to start with, and he starts screaming and they pull him down. I mean, it just goes to shit. I don't know how United Airlines makes this right. And what has to happen is the people have to push on this. Don't ever take a voucher. Force the airlines to change. Don't ever take a voucher again. But you, of course, said that you'd have taken the $800 in a heartbeat. 202-909-1492. Well, the earth is not shaking. The United States and Russia, from a diplomatic standpoint, they have met, and there was some agreement between Sergei Lavrov and Rex Tillerson. By the way, I thought Tillerson was a dude. I mean, I thought he was a seasoned veteran at the press conference this afternoon. I thought he handled it. I mean, this guy's been around the block. He knows how to talk. He knows what to say. No misstep at all. And had really strong resolve in his answers about where the United States stands with getting rid of Assad in Syria. We're not going to invade him. There may be more airstrikes depending on how Assad acts when it comes to chemicals. But there was agreement in this meeting. And the Secretary of State did meet with President Vladimir Putin. They agreed to fight international terrorism together. How that's going to work, I don't know. They agreed that there should be an investigation through The Hague and the United Nations to get an honest what happened in the chemical attack and who's responsible. Although right now, both countries have a very different view of who's responsible right now. They want to put together a working group to address problems between the two countries. So there's a constant ongoing dialogue about how they try to restore trust. And they talked about that. Secretary Tillerson said relations are at this point are at a low point. And there were differences. So those were the differences when it came to investigation would be done and the conclusions they would come to. Tillerson did tell Putin that the United States does not believe that Assad has a future in Syria and it has to end. So I think it was a good meeting. I mean, as all the rhetoric. Oh, by the way, they both agreed that North Korea should not have a nuclear weapon or the capability to deliver. And the president spoke with President Xi from China last night. The contents of that was not divulged, but apparently something's cooking. And of course, USS Carl Vinson's on its way to the Korean Peninsula. Maybe we're going to take a shot at it, but it looks like China's going to get engaged in this. And North Korea, the mainstream media is saying that Russia and China are aligned with North Korea. That's total bullshit. It's apparent that the other superpowers do not want North Korea to have a delivery system for nuclear weapons. And they don't want this rogue state to be acting the way they're acting. But nobody's really reporting it that way. And that is exactly the position right now. So there's still a lot of things that have got to be worked out, but I thought it was a pretty good meeting. If you want to talk on that, 202-909-1492. I'll take your phone calls, 202-909-1492.
All right, Ed, I have a question for you. You know, we have a lot of conversation today about Secretary of State Tillerson meeting with the Russians, both Vladimir Putin and Sergei Lavrov. I guess the question is, you know, they both said that U.S.-Russia relationship under Trump is a little bit strained. We're just less than 3 months in. And I guess politically, does this kind of put a little bit to rest about all this, like, Trump is the most pro-Russia president of all time? I mean, he's, to their point, hurt relations just a little bit. I mean, I know it's not like extremely serious, but
Well, Trump did something that the Russians did not want to have happen, and that's take a shot at Syria and inject themselves into the Syrian conflict. After stating that it was okay for Assad to continue to be the head of the country. I mean, we have to admit as Americans, there has been a policy shift by the United States and the Trump administration when it comes to Syria. It was a situation where we didn't want regime change. Now, of course, the stated position is, of course, to get him out. 202-909-1492 is our number. So that right there in itself is a problem. Secondly, on exactly how North Korea is going to be handled by the Trump administration, and also the fact that there is a campaign promise that the president made that he was going to make China a currency manipulator, and Trump is backing off on that. Now, that doesn't affect Russia or affect your question, but I'm just saying that there are changes. We've seen a change in currency manipulation being called out on China, which Trump isn't going to do. He hasn't addressed any trade agreements that he said he was going to do. He's not going to get money for the wall. What he has done in 85 days is get Judge Gorsuch on the Supreme Court. And in the conservative world, that's a big thing. That and maybe changing the dynamic in Syria, we don't know. But the fact is we may have bombed them on poor intelligence. It might have been ISIS. It might have been Al-Qaeda that did that chemical attack. But the United States is totally convinced that it was Assad. And the Russians, of course, are looking at the quality of the testimony and the intelligence and says that the only thing that is going to be able to take care of that is an impartial group of experts that are going to be allowed to go on site to inspect it. Let's go to the phones. 202-909-1492. You're on Facebook Live with Ed Schultz. Hello.
Hello.
Go ahead.
Yeah, hi. Am I talking to Ed?
Yes, sir, you are. This is Ed. Go ahead.
Yeah, hello, Ed. My name is David. I used to be a very big fan of yours, and I always watched you on MSNBC. And I'm just wondering, Ed, what happened to you? You've changed so much, and I'm very confused whenever I read your work or I follow your current activities. I'm confused, Ed. What's going on?
What has changed? Let me ask you that. Let me ask you what has changed, because I still believe in the basic progressive core principles. I haven't changed my position on workers' rights or labor. I haven't changed my position on universal health care. Haven't changed my position on public education for all, or affirmative action, or civil rights and equal justice under the law, or women's rights for that matter. I'm not quite sure, and I get this criticism a lot on Facebook. People say I'm a traitor, turncoat, whatever. Give me the issue. What issue is it that makes you think that?
Ed, I've seen you lately. You seem that it appears as if you've become a major proponent, or, somebody can even, confuse you as being a Trump surrogate or something to that extent. It's quite confusing because, you just cited all the things that you stand for, but rarely do we ever see you advocating for the principles that you once stood for. It can be confusing, and I'm not the only one who has this criticism.
Oh, I know that. I know you're not the only one. I know you're not the only one. Let me offer you this.
Right, but
Let me offer you this.
Please.
Let me offer you this. The things that I believe in, I'm not in a job where I can just go on the air and give opinion and advocate for them. Okay. I'm a news anchor now, and I have to give both sides of the story. And I do give some commentary, obviously, on this podcast. And this is why I'm taking these phone calls now, because I know there's some folks out there like you. My job is different. I used to do an opinion show on MSNBC. In the 1 hour program, you'd get about 7 or 8 stories, and basically you had to have an opinion on all of them or develop a take. That's different now. If you watch me on RT America now, it is a straight news read. I do have panels, and I ask questions, and I try to be fair. Have I said some good things about Trump? Yes, I have, because in the realm of reporting. I don't believe in everything Trump is trying to do. I don't want to see the president of the United States be a complete failure because I don't think that that's good for the country. And I do take issue with the Democrats on some of the things that they have done. I'm still a big Bernie supporter. So, I mean, I think the job is different, but I'm the same guy. And I can't go on the...
Can I ask you something?
Go ahead. Yes, sir.
Right. Yes, sir. And the thing is that, I'm one of those people who still believes in you. And I always used to watch your show. I recorded every single episode on Optimum. But I'm just wondering, do you think that after everything that Russia has been doing, especially with the recent support of Bashar al-Assad in Syria, that it's okay to work for RT? I mean, they're the main propaganda arm of the Russian regime.
That's a very okay. Let me answer that.
Michael Flynn.
Okay, let me answer that.
Okay.
Because it's funded proportionately by the Russian government, and there is advertising and there are donations. We're basically funded the same way, the BBC is funded and other state news agencies. That doesn't mean I have to purport their view. That doesn't mean I have to say what they want me to say, and I've never been told to. But because it's connected to Russia, that doesn't mean we're not an independent news agency. And I can tell you, you'll just have to believe me that I write all of the political news on my newscast. I present the questions to those who are booked on the show. I'm not told to say, you have to take this stand for Russia, you have to take this position on this issue, or you're not going to be able to work here. It doesn't work like that. But we get called propaganda. Give me a story. What story are you talking about when you say we're propaganda? I'll tell you what propaganda is. Covering Donald Trump for an hour to talk on the campaign trail when he does nothing but bullshit. That's propaganda, okay? That's covering him just to be covering him to see if he's going to say something. We never did that. And yet we're the ones that are being told, well, we were rooting for Trump to win. Look at our content. We asked Hillary Clinton to come on the air numerous times, never even got a response back. We asked Trump to come on, didn't get a response back. I don't know. Maybe they don't want to do international news. The work that I do right now plays in 77 countries. It's an international newscast. And so the job is different, and my responsibilities are different now. But because I'm not doing a show on MSNBC, all of a sudden I have all these people questioning where my heart and where my desire is. It's just not right. I'll give you a final comment.
Anyway, I just want to let you know that if one person, has a certain criticism, it could be brushed aside. But if many people start to wonder the same thing too, although I think that you are a man of principle, I think that just working for Russia today is something that's very questionable. But regardless, I remain an avid supporter of yours, and I wish you well. I will continue to follow your work.
Well, I appreciate that very much, sir. I really do. And I want you to know that the day they start hogging me about what I've got to say is the day that I'll go find something else to do. But, I feel I have an exit clause with MSNBC. I'm not going to badmouth MSNBC. I have friends over there. I had 7 great years there. I felt great. But I will tell you this. I have as much freedom here as I had over there. Let me say that. And you're just going to have to hopefully, respect the work that I do, and I hope you do, but understand that I'm a news anchor now, and it's a different on-air presentation because it's journalistically based and not just opinion. I appreciate your call very much. Thank you. 202-909-1492. You're on Facebook Live with Ed. Hello. Go ahead.
Hello, Ed.
Hi there.
Hi, I'm such a big fan of yours. I was so disappointed when you got off the air on MSNBC I didn't really know what happened to Eugene. What exactly happened on MSNBC?
I can't talk about that. That's on my website years ago. I put it up there. They decided to make a program change. It happens in this business. I wasn't the only one. They made a number of program changes, and I was one of them. And they decided to do something else with the hour that I was in, and I fully respect that. And life goes on, and it's business, and that's the way it is. So I'm off.
Let me ask you.
Yeah.
Let me ask you one more thing, since I have you on. What do you? I feel like a news reporter right now. How do you think that Trump's doing right now? Do you think he's doing okay? Do you think he could be doing better? Since I love your aspect about Obama, and I wish I could have seen you more on MSNBC, but I want to know, how do you feel about Trump? Like, how do you think he's doing so far?
Well, I think that he's having a hard time getting to the issues that he wants to get to, such as trade agreements, which he made a big promise on. He's having a hard time getting to that because there's a lot of international relations and a lot of tensions with the superpowers right now that he's had to address, and it's taken a great deal of his focus. I think today's meeting with the Russian diplomats was very important. I think that he seems to be making some headway with the allies in Southeast Asia and East Asia, with Japan and South Korea. And it looks like he had a pretty good meeting with China. I think his domestic efforts are behind schedule, but it's not even 100 days yet. And I think that he got Gorsuch on the Supreme Court. From a conservative standpoint, mission accomplished. But I think the big agenda obviously is kind of bogged down because of a lot of international issues that are going on. So that's my honest opinion. I don't think he's had any real impact on the economy. I think that the market's doing what it's doing. It always does. It fluctuates. It seems to be pretty strong right now. I noticed that our job numbers are starting to slip a little bit. Last month was not as good as the previous 2 months. This is now Trump's economy. So I think that he's got it's early on, but he's having a hard time getting to the things that he promised on the campaign trail. That's where I'm at.
Okay, let me ask you two more things, since I'm so sorry. Well, do you think Hillary would have done better, or do you think she would have been the same? Hillary.
Well, you mean as far as being president?
Yeah, do you think she would have done any better than Trump, or do you think she would have been better?
Right. Well, let me answer it this way, because this is factually based and not opinion. We have 3 investigations going on right now: House Intelligence, Senate Intelligence, and also the FBI. If Hillary Clinton was president, I think we'd have investigations going on right now into the Clinton Foundation and the pay for play, and the conservatives would have gone after Hillary with some investigations because they've got the power. They've got the Senate and they've got the House. And I think that they would have done everything they possibly can to obstruct Hillary Clinton. So I think that there's pushback politically on both sides. I don't think there would have been a remarkable difference. I do think that there's no way that Obamacare would be and healthcare would be facing any changes if Hillary Clinton was president. I think that they would be definitely keeping Obamacare. She would never sign anything different. She would veto it all. I don't think that they would override the veto in the Senate, because the Democrats do have enough folks in there to protect Obamacare. So I don't think Obamacare would be under attack if Hillary Clinton was president. That's really the big difference so far.
Yeah, and I can't agree more. Like, I watched it, like, MSNBC. Now, like, they put on Chuck Todd at 5 o'clock. I used to watch you at 5 o'clock, and it's totally different than MSNBC, than your show. I feel like it's just not the same channel no more.
Well, they chose to do that, and believe me, I'm doing fine. They're doing fine. Life is good. It happens in business. Thank you. I appreciate your call very much.
Hey, Ed, so we have one of our viewers out there in Facebook land named Danny.
Yeah.
He asked, what would your advice be for a normal, everyday American who wants to run for office and stand up against the corporate, elitist, establishment Democrat. So this is a grassroots guy. How do you do
a grassroots guy out there wants to run for political office.
Yeah, I don't know if he wants
It's
to run
very simple. Jump on the Bernie Sanders train. Let Bernie be your guide. Let Bernie Sanders be your playbook. Look what Bernie did. There's no reason why someone in the heartland or somewhere anywhere in this country couldn't get the same kind of support that Bernie Sanders got if you take those positions and if you believe in those positions. Bernie gave us the playbook on it can be done, and the Democratic Party can find new routes. The progressive movement can find new routes. And so I think there's a playbook out there for anybody who wants to run for office. Look what's happening in Kansas. Look what's happening down in Georgia. There's a guy right now, a Democrat, a progressive Democrat that's on the verge of winning the seat that was held by Tom Price and used to be held by Newt Gingrich. That's pretty exciting stuff. So that's my answer. I hope he likes it because it is correct.
All right, and then just a couple of more things, Ed. We're getting breaking news right now. President Trump is meeting with, or is giving a joint press conference with the NATO secretary, and Trump says now NATO is no longer obsolete. He no longer believes that after he said that earlier this year. And also, he's also questioned, that he said there's tensions with Russia. He's mentioned the same thing. He said that he feels like the relationship is low, and there definitely needs to be some, something happening there. So I feel like we're looking at it on both sides. Usually we say both sides of the aisle. Now we're looking at both sides of the ocean.
I think that Trump is not in denial on Russia tensions, but that doesn't mean it can't move forward. And I think when Trump and Putin get together, there'll be progress and things will be better. There's just a real misunderstanding right now. They think that Russia is going to invade any of the NATO countries. It's not going to happen. They also, one of the reasons why Trump doesn't think that NATO's obsolete anymore is because they're starting to pay some bills. That's what Trump understands. Okay? Trump understands people that pay bills. Although he's been known not to pay a few of his own, but anyway, he's stuck it to a few contractors in his career at one time or another.
And I had another one where you talking about him shifting positions. I mean, he shifted to what is kind of
he shifted on Syria. He shifted on currency manipulation on China.
Do you think this is a learning experience for him? I mean, he's never worked in government before. So he doesn't know, he didn't.
Well, okay, here's the point. There's this Washington story about how Trump is having a hard time with his staff. They can't get on the same page. That's the way he ran his business. I mean, that's how he ran his reality show. You're fired. I mean, there's sometimes in business there's always this kind of turmoil to eventually get things done. Government's not used to seeing it run like that. I think this is the way it's going to be in the Trump administration. I don't think it's ever going to be smooth, but that doesn't mean he can't get things done. And I think his defense mechanism is vilifying Washington, beating the hell out of people on Twitter, going out and doing rallies and telling everybody how this is what he wants, but he can't get it. That's what it's going to evolve to. And I still think that even though he's at 35 or 40% approval rating, with his supporters, he's still in a very solid position. And I think the strike on Syria certainly helped. And I do not think that the strike on Syria has anything to do with diverting attention away from Russian, quote, meddling, whatever that is. The investigations are still going to go on. The fact of the matter is a message has been sent to Russia that, hey, look, you guys got to figure this out with Assad. Tillerson today told Putin, he said, look, we want Assad out. We don't see a future with Assad. So this idea that the administration or the United States isn't going to stand up to Russia, that's all wrong. And I don't think that they delivered any missiles in Syria because they wanted to make a point about getting along with Russia or not being a puppet to Putin. I don't believe that for a moment. I don't think they did it to change the subject. 202-909-1492. 202-909-1492. I'm here most of the time in the afternoon. Check us out on Facebook at WeGotEd.com. Thanks for the calls. We're back tomorrow.